Welcome to the DJNTV Chill Room Chat, your space to unwind and talk shop. This episode is sponsored by MadeByDJs.com, innovative tools designed specifically by DJs for DJs. DJEventPlanner.com, the industry standard for streamlining your business and booking faster. And DJRequests.com, the easiest way to manage your dance floor's vibe in real time. Support the show by using our Amazon affiliate link at djntv.com/Amazon. Now, let's get into the mix.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome. Welcome. It is Monday, I think.
Yes,
I think
it is.
I checked.
Okay. I checked on the schedule and it said Monday.
Okay. I was a little concerned because, I mean, last week I started getting text messages that was like, hey, where are you? I see Cubby and I see John, but you're not there. And I was like, it's not Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern.
That's true. That's true. We went an hour early last week, so that really messed it up.
You did. You messed with me because people were wondering what's going on. And I was like I'm getting text messages while I'm in Atlantic City. I'm going, I don't know what John, it's John. John and Cubby. What do you expect?
Yeah. They just, they're old and they're like, okay, so we can either go and get the Denny's, the early bird special, or we could do a show early. Yeah, we decided to do the show early. Yeah. That worked. So Dan, tonight I wanted to dig into, because at our events, we have many times when you've got guests and requests and how that all fits together and such. And so kind of called it the guest DJ. I wanted to hit that, and that's going to be kind of our main topic tonight. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about what you saw in Atlantic City last week. So that way, when Cubby comes in next week and he asks us all these questions, we can say, didn't you watch last week's show? See?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I listen, everybody's been talking about Atlantic City as far as like, okay, this is not the Atlantic City that we saw 7 years ago, right? Before COVID, right? This is not the Atlantic City we saw even maybe 3 years ago. Things are a little different with the show. So I will say this. It was very interesting to kind of hear people talk because there were some newcomers this year, people that I've ran into and met for the first time or had met recently, and then they came to their first show and they loved it. This was amazing with so much great content. The showroom floor was so cool to see all the bells and whistles and all the different things that were there. And so you heard a lot of that. But then you flip over and you talk to the people that have been coming for a while, and they're just like, this was kind of pathetic. So it's very interesting to see those two sides, and I think that really kind of boils down that dual message really boils down to what is the gist of this all, right? Like if you go in with the expectation that it's going to be like it was 10 years ago, it's not. And there's and as I talked with people, we would say, okay, yeah, it's not. What do we do to fix it? Like what's the answer here? Because they're like, well, you need to get the big names back, like the big manufacturers back. Yes. In order to do that, you need to bring the people in. So it's this round robin type of thing where you're not going to get the big name manufacturers back unless you get the people back. You're not going to get the people back unless you get the big name manufacturers back. So there's this, back and forth that who knows how it's going to fully be answered there.
Now, you mentioned, of course, manufacturers, and one of the things that show was known for was the cash and carry world. Is that still part of that show, or is it really kind of declined in that realm?
The only people I saw doing cash and carry was Pioneer had quite a few controllers that you could buy and you could walk out with, and they were decent deals. Like when I saw them, I'm like, okay, nothing that was like, oh my gosh, somebody, stole this off the back of a truck and is trying to sell it cheap. But it was good deals. And Pro X. That was about it for the cash and carry. Everything else was, buy it and we're going to ship it to you, or, there was different software type of situations. And obviously it was you buy it and you can download it. So there's nothing to carry in that case. So that was, and Jetpack. Jetpack was also had some things on hand for you to be able to buy. But yeah, that was like, that seemed to be about it. There wasn't a lot of of that. But in the same respect, there also wasn't a lot of like physical product type of vendors, right? There were speakers, and both lighting was there. Rockville was there, so that there was those physicals. But like I said, there was software. There's Crate, a Crate Builder, which we featured one of the videos for that. Vibecraft was another one which had some cool pieces. And then we had DJ Event Planner was there. There was some other CRM type of things that were there. So again, a lot of software based pieces. But yeah, just again, if you go to that show with the idea of cash and carry, it's not happening.
And that was such a big draw. I mean, even for myself, because there were times where one of the probably second or third time I went with the intentionality of buying small speakers, specifically like 8-inch two-way powered speakers, because the year before they had a company come in there and they just blew them out for like $100 a pop for these little tiny speakers. And it's like, oh my gosh, because when I got home, you couldn't find them. They didn't exist. They only existed at the show. And that was, many a times I came back from Atlantic City flying with, unpacked the box and stuffed everything in my suitcase and made my way home. Whether it was, one time it was a microphone set, another time it was lights. I bought some lights there. Studio microphones I bought over. Yeah. So I've purchased a number of things because the prices were just so fantastic, but that seems to be a thing of the past.
And that was one of the great things that always made Thursday so kind of cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Was because you knew they were going to blow it out because they didn't want to pay the union guys to pack it back up, and they didn't want to pay to ship it back home. So they would give you an even bigger deal if they still had the product around. I remember picking up a couple different headphones that were normally like $60, $70 headphones, and they were selling them for like $30, $35.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't great, but they were like, hey, this is a good backup pair. Yeah, it just they've gone away from that. I think, to be honest with you, I think there are some things that I think could be done that could start to bring some people back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that cash and carry is one of those options. But I think in order for that to actually work for the manufacturers, it's got to be in a different location.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some issues with location when it comes to that. Yeah.
Yeah, just because, I mean, again, please don't take this as me being like anti-union, but the union costs for them to move that equipment in to sell and to set up and all the things that they do has gotten so incredibly high. I think that's also one of the reasons why some of the manufacturers have pulled out. Like, I think that, it's one of those things, like if they could do this show in a place that would have the cost at maybe half of it, then it's like, okay, well, we don't have to clear as much for this to make sense for us. So I think that could be a piece, and then that cash and carry, right? Like if they are able to, if they could start doing that, and again, it was lucrative enough for them to do it, it makes sense. But
and I think one of the things that back 15 years ago type of thing, that a lot of these trade shows didn't pay attention to cash sales, and in the last number of years, many of the trade show producers of these shows have gotten to the point now where they have to be filing paperwork talking about sales tax, and that they're going to require their booth people to be paying sales tax on any sales they make at the show. And I think you add more of these types of levels of bureaucracy, for lack of a better way to describe it. I think those types of things make it much more difficult for people to say, hey, we're going to sell stuff here for $100, and people would buy it all day. Well, then someone's going to have to eat that 6.5%, 7% sales tax. And where does that come from? How does that work? And when, Joe Schmo is selling lights basically out of the back of his booth, and he's selling them for $100 a piece, and he's taking, Ben Franklin's as fast as he can, does he really keep track of, how does that work?
Yeah. Well, and with these shows, I mean, that was one of the things. They always had not manufacturers. They always have, dealers that would come in and represent the brand for the actual sale aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in some aspects that was kind of a way to also get around the sales tax type of piece, right? Because if you're a dealer that's not from Jersey, you might not have to pay sales tax. In fact, I remember one company, they were a PA company, and it was not a cash and carry, but it was a shipping type of situation. And they said, oh, because you're in PA, we have to charge you PA sales tax. And I was like, really?
But if you
like I get it. I get it, but it's just like, oh, on.
Yeah.
But again,
See, and I have that same issue with NLFX. No matter where I go, and if I'm going to buy something at the trade show, I'm from Minnesota. They're from Minnesota, so we get the whatever 7.5. I don't even know what the sales tax rate is here. Shows you how much I pay attention anymore.
Oh, and I will say, Cat and them, they had some cables, they had gaff tape and stuff like that. So they were a cash and carry also, but they were taking pre-orders on that new bag.
And that video just dropped here, I think over the weekend. That you guys can go check that out.
It's pretty cool. Just to give them a plug, like, hey, I'll be honest, I wish I had that bag at the beginning of this month, because I ran into a videographer who did not have the cable, and I had to get very creative, very fast to help them patch into my system.
Yeah, and that can be a stressful moment very quickly. Yeah. Very, very quickly. Rob and Mike, thank you guys for being with us. I see you guys in the chat here tonight, so thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Lots of aspects of the show we could dive into. Go out and check Dan's got a lot of the pictures out there on Instagram. Distracting News on Instagram. Otherwise, he just put up on his personal Facebook page. He just did a photo dump earlier today.
No, I think I did it.
Must have been comments. So it must have been a comment then earlier today, because it popped into my feed again, and it's like so. But yeah, he's got a lot of pictures there of his fun at the show. So Dan, let's dive into our topic for tonight, talking about how to handle those situations when we have got that person who wants to be, who thinks that they know our job better than we do, is probably the best way to describe it. This past weekend, we started out the night, and actually the kind of a little backstory at that. This is the first weekend that I've had the new version of DJ Requests, DJRequests.com. One of our kind of sponsors here that one of my boys put together and coded that. So we used the new version, a 2.0 this weekend. It went way better than I had expected, because my couple was 75. They were 75 years old. So I expected the idea of doing something via cell phone and request to be very foreign and not work with this crowd. Turns out that there were nearly 100 requests that came in via the system.
Wow.
We printed out the QR code on a nice looking little flyer, and as we were getting ready to start, one of the daughters came up and she's like, "Hey, make requests. How can we come up and do that?" And it's like, "Hey, I got something for you. This QR code and she goes, "Hey, can I take these?" And she went around the room and put them on the tables. That's when it started. I figured that there might be more people who would be like, "Hey, I made a request. You should have played it." Everything went really cool. People thought it was the greatest thing to be able to make requests, to be able to see the queue and then to vote on songs as far as, "Hey, I like that song too," because we were getting the little thumbs up, or the on fire emoji is what people were using. But then later in the night, once the alcohol kicked in, there was that one guest who, was up there. It's like, "Cut the song." It's like, it was the one of the wedding party daughters. The bride's daughter, who is an adult, had just requested this song, and the other lady is like, "Cut the song," standing right in front of the DJ booth, screaming as loud as she could, type of thing. "You should play this," and going on. And it's like, my son says, "How are we going to deal with this?" Every time she was there and I was going to make an announcement, like slow it down or something, he's wondering if I'm going to get on a microphone and embarrass her, or, handle it that way. So obviously that's how he, as a 15-year-old, would have looked at it. But you've been in that situation, Dan. You've had that person. What have you found that works, helps? How do you live with yourself?
So I like to keep my earbuds in a lot, especially now that I've been using my in-ear monitors. So it's one of those things where I think some of them feel a little bit more bold yelling from the middle of the floor, right? Because if they're yelling from the middle of the floor, now everybody else is hearing them, and they think they're going to try and get the other people on their side. So sometimes what I'll do is be like, "I can't hear you. Can you come here?" And when they come up, like they'll ask. Now, keep in mind, it depends on who this is, right? Like if I've got a 6'5" guy who's drunk, I'm not doing this.
Yeah,
If
no,
I've
you're not going
got-
to cuff him alongside the head, no. But
well, definitely not doing that.
Oh.
But if it's somebody that is, just you can tell they're a verbal type of person, right? They're the type of person. I just bring them closer so that we can like have a conversation where they're not yelling, and just be like, I understand you don't like this song. It was requested. I'll be more than happy to get to your song here in a moment, but this was requested, and so I'm sorry if you don't like it, but somebody else does. And try and just basically use that. And I have used that for even songs that I decided to play,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody tries to pull that crap. I'm sorry, but if you're yelling at me to turn something off, if there's a reaction on the floor that's positive, I'm not ending it early. And so I usually just try and play it off that it's a request of some sort. So you can just wait and I'll get your song on.
And I like your de-escalation methodology with that. You can tell that that comes from your teaching world of they're up here and they're kind of and you're basically bringing them closer, bringing yourself down, and in essence asking them to meet you down here where we're not everyone's escalated and everyone's yelling at each other, and that works so well most of the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
I mean, and you got to realize if they're drunk, there's nothing we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not bringing them closer if they're belligerent drunk. Like that's not because that's not a good thing for your system. They'll try and do something while they're within reach. But if if it's a like okay, this is somebody who's just had a little bit, and I can try or they're just that type of person. Definitely trying to de-escalate.
And what's interesting is that there's times where there will be a friend or a family member of that person and the embarrassment that they have. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And they become, it's their life challenge to see if they can keep them away from the DJ the rest of the night.
Oh yeah. 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 And trust me, they become my best friend. It's like, listen, you pull this off. Like,
yeah,
I know the bar is an open bar, but I'll get you a drink. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trust me, if you can help me with this, I'll help you out. Don't worry.
Yeah, that has been a good one. The real one became the highly intoxicated all by themselves. And they're there. Sometimes somebody will know them. There have been a couple of times over the years where there's been that one person that it's like, I have no idea who that is, especially if it's been at where part of the room is open to the public, like the other end is open to the public, and this is the private back room, which didn't stay private because this person worked their way back here. Now I've got this person, and I don't know who they are. I hadn't seen them all night, but now they're here, and it's like, well, is this Uncle Uncle Frank who just came in that I didn't know about, and now I'm having to listen to Uncle Frank tell me about how the bride loves, Iron Maiden, and I should be playing more Iron Maiden for the bride. Ironically, I don't remember the bride saying anything about that. But hey, Frank, we're assuming he's Uncle Frank, must know. Until you talk to the bride and she's like, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, you definitely have some of that occasionally will happen. I mean, fortunately, I would say, now that I don't have many ballroom events that I'm doing, like ballrooms in hotels, the wedding crasher aspect has definitely decreased. You don't have somebody just showing up at the neighborhood barn to join in the party.
Yeah, definitely. This is something I don't do when it's a remote site like that, which is, I'm not complaining. Although there are times there's still somebody who comes in that might be a friend of a friend, and they were the plus one, and they figure that they know more about what we do than So again, let's revisit it. One of the areas, the plugging in the phone, because when we had at this particular one, not that anyone asked about plugging in phones, they were very respectful and very cool, but we had a group of people who have spent time in Europe, which meant that they had spent time in clubs in Europe, and they were closer to an Ibiza type crowd, that little cluster of people were, and they were wanting to have some songs like that. And I was thinking to myself, some of it I did a couple of, but it's like they would have liked more, but they were just 4 or 5 people. But the time of me, saying, I really don't have that song or that song or that song, and they could have, done can you plug my phone in and do that? How are you handling that? If people are wanting you to do that these days?
This happened. This was the beginning of June. It was actually one of the groomsmen, good buddies, not enough to be groom's good buddies, not enough to be a groomsman, but definitely enough to kind of hang out in that clique of a group. He started up by asking just like, could I pull a song up on YouTube?
Sure.
And I was like, I don't have internet access. Oh no, you can hop on the place's Wi-Fi.
Hmm.
Not doing that with my system. Oh, well, how about if how can you plug my phone in? No, no. I look at what I have here. I don't have the ability to plug in. I always like hope that they do not see the iPad physically plugged in, and usually they don't.
Yeah, my version, I had an RCA cable sitting right there with the eighth inch jack just sitting there. It's like, oh, if somebody would have saw that and wanted it, it would have been tough to say, oh, I don't have the connection.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of times what will happen is if they do see it plugged into the iPad, that doesn't control audio. That's something that allows the controller to do something that it needs to do, and it's kind of a weird thing that I plug in. Like I
Yeah.
make something up,
I've got
right?
I've got this
That is not for audio. Sorry.
flux capacitor app on the iPad, and it powers this whole system with that one wire. I'm just saying.
It's an arc reactor. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
No, so that's kind of the direction, and he really kind of pushed a little bit.
Sure.
And
Okay.
he was like, and so I've talked before. I use a safe word with my couples, and this safe word apparently had gotten out because the couples thought like for any request they needed to use a safe word, so they told it to all their friends.
Mm.
And he goes, well, what if it blah blah? I forget what it was. Unicorn, we'll say. And I was like, it's still not an option. He left, he went to got the groom. The groom came back and was trying to get me to change my mind. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to run this through my system. It can't run through the system. And YouTube amplify through the system will sound horrible. So I said, it's not what he requested. It's not, how he was doing it. This is just not an option. I never gave it a chance. I may have even had the song. I don't know. But the way he went about it and the way he pushed,
Yeah.
I was just like, this could be the best song ever. I'm not giving you a chance to show me because the way you went about it was just, he wasn't rude, but he definitely was more pushy than he should have been given the scenario.
So did the other guests who were maybe dancing or whatever, did they see that he was up there and he was maybe requesting inappropriately, for lack of a better way to describe it?
No, it wasn't that way because it was more of just he wasn't loud, he wasn't boisterous. He was just, I'm gonna keep trying anything and everything I can for you to play this song.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like in my head, and the part of that was also like, if this was such a great song that the groom would have loved it, he would have told me about it because I got an extensive list from them.
Sure.
So again, it's like, I'm not opposed to taking requests, but you want to play it off that this is the best song ever, then the couple probably should have told you about it.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the negatives about how things went with the person there that was causing trouble is, in our case, they weren't discreet at all. So you got a dance floor people who are like, what's going on? And then that chases people off the floor. They're like, oh, well, this song must either I like this song, but this person is making such a fuss over it. I just don't want to be around here, and I'm not going to be out there, even though one of the gals was the one who requested it. So you got this whole animosity thing going on your dance floor really quickly, and it's like, ugh.
I will say again, this is not necessarily the direction that we are going tonight, but one thing that will help with this is not necessarily quick mixing, but not playing the full song.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because in the same respect, if they're like yelling like, cut this song sucks, whatever. Hey, give me a little bit. I'm getting out of the song, but the more you talk to me, the longer this plays because I can't get the next one ready. Right? Like, I'm trying to get out of this song, but you keep going like this, will stop me from being able to do that. And if you're consistently doing like every 2.5 minutes, some of them will kind of get the sense that that's going to be the case, that you're not going to suddenly play a whole song. And so they don't have to wait too long. Now, that same respect might be that I don't like rap. And so it's like you do a couple like pop type songs and they're like, I don't like it. And it's like, okay, sorry, you came to a dance. You're going to hear a song.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll probably
But-
be, in a little bit, you'll be dancing to Flo Rida, and you'll be dancing to something from Pitbull, and you'll be dancing to whatever, because that's where all the ladies will be dancing, and you're going to want to dance with them.
Yeah. So by keeping the speed up, the time of a song up, or short down, I should say, that will help. That
Sure,
will help that
definitely.
scenario, because again, you're out of it sooner. The downside is you get out of it sooner, they're going to think you did it because they said it. That's the downside. But if it's what you've been doing all night long, then it helps.
Sure. Requests that come in that are questionable as far as from content, the content standpoint. Specifically, one that caught me this weekend was the song "Murder on a Dance Floor," because there's the clean versions, and then there's the unclean version. And I grabbed one with my promo subscription. I grabbed one that had been edited. It said clean edit, which is fine. It was good with that. But they did such a horrible job of the edit that they basically did the music's all gone. So it sounds like an audio glitch every time it came up and such. But the point of if I wouldn't have been, it would have, I don't remember what the profanity would have been, but there would have been an F-bomb, I believe was what it was, or something like that.
I think it's GD.
Okay. So it could be something.
I think that's the one that's in the regular. Not that it. Again, some clean edits leave it, some clean edits take it out. So I think, but if I remember correctly,
okay, so it could have been
the one that stands out is that.
Okay, well, on my dance floor, the ladies were singing the F-bomb.
Oh,
so and it could. So I don't know. I've only listened to the song a few times on Mike Walters' his mix when he's like, yeah, this should be a song for summer. But the point getting back to is. If you have a song and you get a couple of people who are like, hey, this is a great song and we want to play it, but that the couple, something that's dropping a profanity is not cool, whether it's the time of the night, the crowd that you have, or the couple that you have. What are some ways that you are handling that to check it before playing it and having that surprise?
I mean, I guess I'm not quite following, because if you don't have the stuff that's explicit on there to begin with, right? If you don't put that on your drive, you don't have to worry about it coming up at a time that shouldn't come up.
Very true. And I suppose in promo only you can set the thing where it won't download explicit. I believe. Yeah.
So let me put it this way. So whether it's promo only or whether it's any of the other ones, if it's promo only, they do have the ability. Most of them, they'll say clean if they're clean. They'll say explicit if they're explicit. And if it doesn't say anything, usually it's the clean edit.
Yep.
From what I've found, like sometimes you get an album cut or whatever, something like that. So from that standpoint, anything that's explicit, I immediately move it. I might download it, but it goes into a hard drive. It doesn't go onto my DJ computer. Like that's just a policy I have with it. I keep it off. I don't want to have to worry about that accidental.
Sure.
And mine has not been, I'm so worried so much about the weddings, although I try and keep it clean for weddings, and people, you can disagree with me on that. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want it to accidentally show up on a school dance.
Yep.
Right. That's where I have the issue. So I make sure that it doesn't go on, so I don't have it accidentally show up on a school dance and then have a problem there, because their administration will care.
Yep. Different world. Yeah.
So that's my piece there. Now, when it's coming from the other groups, I usually check it, or I might keep it in a secondary folder, and then it depends upon, okay, if it's early in the night, okay, I'm going to quickly give this a listen to. I'm going to scrub to a certain spot where I know a profanity might be, and then I'm like, okay, is it there? Is it not? If it is, okay, yeah, I'm not playing this.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, then it's like, okay, now we're good. We can go ahead. We can get away with this. So that's the direction that I've gone when I've kind of been in that situation, because I don't want to run into that problem.
For sure.
And I will, but in the same respect, I've been having more and more weddings lately where like it doesn't matter what I'm saying, because in the speech, in the toast, it was F this, F that.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm just like I know I sound old when I do that, but I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
you want to speak like that, that's one thing, whatever, to, your deal. But when you do it on the microphone and everybody's in attendance, it's kind of like, that's not the place for it.
Very much so. Yeah, that's where you want to be. Maybe not super professional, but you want to be family friendly. Is my take on that when it comes to the toasts and different things. Yeah. So I've used a couple of times where specifically I didn't really know the song. Maybe I recognized the title. I knew the artist, familiar with the artist, and it's like, okay, I need to check the lyrics on that thing. And everyone, when I do have internet, which I've got a Mac, so I don't worry about hooking up to the internet. So
I have a Mac too. I just don't want to do it.
You crazy guys. But no, I've basically pop open a browser window and I've had searching lyrics of songs just because I would rather see if there's something there, especially when it gets to high school time, and I've got stuff coming in, and I want to make sure on that because that's crazy. Mikey mentions virtual DJ will edit it for you. That's one of the areas actually, Mikey, that because of the new virtual DJ, will put the words above the as it's flowing along, and it'll show where the words are supposed to be. So it's using that for the creating karaoke track or whatever. And all of a sudden you see profanity in that, and you're like, whoa, what? And yet the version I have is clean, but the profanity is showing up in that thing going across, and it's like, whoa, I didn't even realize that because you've played the clean version all the time, and you just don't. Yeah.
But there is some censor piece. There is the censor feature that they have now with the new one with the AI, and you can put in the words you don't want it to play, and it'll censor it itself in virtual. It's using AI to do it. Some people are saying it's really, really good, but it's not perfect. So, it's one of those things where I think, would I trust it for school dances? No. Would I trust it for a wedding? Sure.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? Like where if something slips through, like you're probably going to get away with it for a hot second, depending upon the crowd that you have. But school dance is a different story. So,
Very much so.
yeah, he's right. There is that censor feature in there. And when it first came out, I think Rachel Lynch shared her, the 7 dirty words, but it was like 55 like different words and ways to say it and different things, so that it, because if you put it ER, it's a different word. So you have to include that in your list.
Oh boy.
And so that was the list, and so that circulated for a bit, so people could be like, oh, and a lot of people that added that into their base, so as just an extra layer of potential protection.
Yeah, and I think I'd have to play with that a little bit more. I think that's a neat idea, but there's still the part of knowing the song. Either I know it well enough to know that this is a clean version because I've played it before or whatever, or if I haven't played it before, scanning an actual lyric sheet and going that route, because you don't want to have, especially at a school dance, you don't want to be stumbling into something and then having to explain to the superintendent, why did you play that at the dance Saturday night? Sorry.
The one thing that you can, depending upon the school, most schools, like I have a couple schools that work this way, where their philosophy, as long as it's a radio edit, they really don't care.
Yeah.
And I still remember hearing a story. I did a photo booth for one. I wasn't the DJ for it. I wasn't there, but one of my assistants was. And I was talking to the advisor afterwards, who happened to be a friend of mine. And she was like, yeah, we had to we had one of the principals come up and ask if the DJ was playing the wrong versions. And she said, no, the kids were just singing it that loud. So that's the other thing is, sometimes with some of your school dances, like if you've got a large enough crowd, you can almost plead ignorance because they're like, no, they're singing it. That's what you're hearing. You're not hearing me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're singing about other things, doing other things here. So yeah, that one of those things that if you haven't, for those who are watching, if you haven't had that situation or variations of those, you will. And if you've had it 100 times, you will probably have it 100 more.
So what did you finally do?
Family members were so embarrassed. That's how this one ended up. Many of the times it will. The worst I've ever had, I went and I did talk to the couple and said, can you, there was a cousin in that particular, I want to say, it's like, this gentleman's just being really obnoxious, and he's in my face, and he's actually getting to the point now where I think he's becoming kind of threatening to me, and it's like, can you just tell him to tone it down, or I'll get him out of here. And they threw him out. Most of the time, if you just kind of kill them with kindness, explain a little bit, and they calm down. This particular person was not, but their family members, then it became their task, their goal to keep them away from our booth area. And then after a period of time, they just didn't go on the dance floor anymore. They were I think finally enough alcohol had kicked in where they couldn't function. That
was the other thing, is sometimes if you can pause them enough, they'll get too much in them, and then
they're done. Yeah. There's that fine line where they go from the angry drunk to the completely out of it drunk, intoxicated person. So,
not that we're promoting that.
Yeah, no, that's certainly not the case. But we're promoting the being a nice, cordial person out on the dance floor who wants to have a good time and wants to let everyone else have a good time also. That's what we're after. Just sometimes those don't all go together. Okay, so DJNTV.com/chill. The crew's going to be in there here in about 20 minutes, give or take. Probably some people are over there right now. You can go check that out, and they're going to be having a little chat and probably recording a show tonight. Who knows? They're a busy crew. And then tomorrow night, the Tuesday night music show records at 10 o'clock Eastern. And again, DJNTV.com/chill. And we've got shows dropping, and Dan had a lot of great footage coming to you from DJ Expo. So tomorrow morning, another one will drop, and later in the week, another one will drop as we are getting those out there. And you can learn about some of the different vendors and folks that were at DJ Expo DJX 2026.
Make sure you give it a little like, a share, all that kind of stuff, because that also helps us kind of other videos show up more for you.
Yeah.
Like interact with it.
For sure. Good stuff there.
Not that we're begging or anything.
And even some of the exhibitors, you're going to see some people that you've never seen before. And if you happen to reach out to them, hey, say you saw it, you saw that video from that Dan shot here at DJX, because they're trying to keep track of where their connections are being made. So definitely drop that for us if you would, please. So other than that, Dan, take us home.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Hopefully you got a couple tips of what you can do when that person comes up and asks, whether they're being nice about it or whether they're being kind of mean. But either way, hopefully you got some tips. We appreciate you. We thank you, and hope you have a great night. Bye,
everybody.